Welcome to Slipstream Shaman, Quantum Healing and Beyond. The primary focus of Slipstream Shaman, Quantum Healing and Beyond is teaching people to use their natural abilities in quantum healing. This is an opportunity to enter the quantum realm and develop your metaphysical gifts, expand your energy to improve your life, your community, the planet, and beyond. In addition to quantum healing, Todd will cover many fun topics such as Bigfoot, UFOs, near-death experiences, ghosts, shadow people, and many others. Todd has a lifelong fascination with alternative healing, consciousness, expansion, and the human potential. Now, your host, Todd Wilcox.
Welcome back to Slipstream Shaman, Quantum Healing and Beyond. I tell you, when I watch that intro and listen to it, I'm ready to run through a wall. So thank you for that. What a great job you did. Other Todd, who does all the production on this. I appreciate that. Today, we're going to have Eden Koz with us. And you haven't met energy yet. You're going to meet pure energy in a few minutes. She has a website. She has a podcast. And she has just one of the best. She shares some of the best energy I've ever been around. I can't wait to get talking to her. You're all going to be charged up by the time this is over. So Todd, if you want to go ahead and bring Eden on, we'll go ahead and get started with her. Hello, Eden. How are you?
Wow. What an awesome introduction. And your Slipstream Shaman, where I felt like I had just come out of a Star Wars movie or something. It was like, bam, bam, bam. It's awesome.
Yeah, Todd does an amazing job. I was shaking and had goosebumps when I first saw that. So yeah, great job again, Todd. Hey, Eden, tell us your website.
Yes. My primary website is Eden, E-D-E-N, just, and I'm used to spelling this, just be, so JUSTBE.com.
Very good. And your podcast is Just Be Spiritual, boom, right?
Yes, exactly.
I try to do the John Madden boom when I do that. It's not as good as yours. I should have let you do that. We'll probably have you do that after the first break so that people can see.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah, I want to thank you for being here. Eden and I met not that long ago. It's been, well, we first started talking on LinkedIn probably 3 or 4 months ago, maybe a little longer, and worked our schedules out to where we finally got to meet. And it has been a joy every time we've talked since that time. So this is going to be fun. I can't wait to see where we go on this.
I know, and this is like our third time, right? Yeah, our third time.
Third time, yeah, and the second one kind of counts as two because we were having so much fun. We doubled it up, all in the same session, but we went twice. So yeah, we could almost say this is our fourth time talking.
There you go. Woo! All right, let me get ready.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm ready. So, to go.
Tell us, Eden. Let's start off just getting to know you a little bit. I know you do energy work. Yes. I don't want to describe it wrong. So why don't you just tell us what your energy work is, your modalities, what you're doing, and you're also big on consciousness development, getting the planet to a better frequency. If you could just kind of tell us, what you're all about, that'd be great.
Okay. Let me crack my knuckles.
Do it in 7 seconds.
Okay. All right. So at the heart of it, I'm a psychological intuitive. I've been doing this for 20 years, and I was in, oh gosh, tell me if I'm going into too much detail. I was in advertising before all of this. And I started going to my teacher, who I had no idea that this was going to become my path. So I studied under a doctor of psychology for 6 years. And this was in Atlanta, Georgia. And my former husband's job was going to transfer us up from there to Alabama and then to Ohio. And she goes, you need to start doing this. So that's what led me into this. And essentially, I didn't realize I had all of these gifts, if you want to call it that. I had someone call it their art the other day, which I thought was lovely. I didn't realize I had all of these gifts, if you want to call it that. So I not only am a psychological empath, but an intuitive. If you want to go to a psychic or a medium, like I work with spirits as well, energy work. And when I work with spirits, it's much different than when you hear the word psychic, because I stay away from that word a little bit too, because there is such a psychic means you do this and you look this way and you didn't know. So as I said, I've been doing this for like 20 years. I also had a major infection about 7 years ago. I had a near-death experience from that. So I'll take a break with that, a breath. Todd, what else? What else can I say?
No, that's fantastic. That got us going. And so you're
Okay.
working with people every week. You've got clients
Yes.
that come to you for help, and you help them through all kinds of. Maybe just tell us what kinds of things you help people with.
I would say everything. Again, it's so hard. It's so challenging to put this into a nutshell because it is so vast. So primarily, I used to say I work specifically with grief, anxiety, and depression because people could understand that. So I have all ages that work with me as well. So sometimes, I have teenagers that come in, especially with everything that's going on right now and the vibrations of the world. And high anxiety, like 2 or 3 sessions, dramatically better. And of course, this is all holistic. There's no medication. There are no drugs. I've had every client that's come to see me, and this takes work. You don't just come here and I go, oh, you're healed. No, you got to do some stuff too. So everybody that comes here that has committed to doing this has gone off their depression medication. Every person. I work with people, let me cough for just a second, that come in with a disorder that basically Western medicine says, well, once you have this, you're going to have this for the rest of your life, down from bipolarism, eating disorders, alcoholism. Everyone that we've worked with as well, no, this does not have to be an ongoing part of your life, where it is something that you can look at and go, oh, I was challenged by that, but now I know the root cause for that. And that I'm big on that too, finding out the root causes for these things. And in doing that, we can move past it. And then people can also see why this came to be. And I'm also a big believer that the physical body is masterful. It doesn't just create these issues or challenges out of thin air. For like this one client that I had that had an eating disorder, that disorder protected her. That was her form of protection. And once we got her to see that she doesn't need that as the thing that's going to make her okay anymore, she can start to move past it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So let me give you another totally alternative example. I had a young kid, probably about 6 years old, who came to see me, who from a very loving family, because I know the parents as well, started saying things like, hey, I'm going to cut you with the knife, very disparaging things. And typically Western science would go, well, we need to send this kid to the psych ward. We need to put her on a lot of drugs. Yet when she came, they were of the Jewish faith. And I saw that she had all these spirits that were on her, essentially dragging her down, having self-talk coming through her head that was very negative. And once we were able to clear that off very quickly, she stopped saying these things. And I am so glad that the parents brought her to me, because where would her life have gone if she hadn't done this sort of work? What would have happened? Because it was going to continue and to get darker and to get heavier. So stuff like that too.
Yeah. And what a great save that was. Unfortunately, you stop the symptom when you use that medicine.
Yes.
But it doesn't necessarily help the person. You zombie them out, for lack of a better way to describe it, so that they're not saying that and not manifesting those things. But you haven't looked at the root cause, and you haven't looked at why these things are happening or where it's coming from. And so that's exciting that they had some great help from you.
Well, and it's exciting too that the parents decided that they were going to look for something alternative, and they trusted the process, because when you come to see me too, a lot of
Oh no. So hopefully we'll have there you go. You're back.
Okay.
We lost you. You said when you come to see me, and then you froze.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. When you come to see me, for example, I also had a younger boy that had migraines, and we got rid of his migraines. Yet sometimes when you come to see me, you get exercises. Well, you always get exercises each time. Yet your exercises might be very untraditional, very outside of the box. So in both of these scenarios, the parents were like, okay, whatever you got, Eden, we're going to do it. And I'm like, if you do these things, you will get good results, no matter how crazy this might sound, because everybody that comes to see me too, they're an individual. So, oh, this person over here I had 2 days ago is going to get the same exercise as this person. No, completely different, completely unique, every scenario, every background, every personality. So that's also what makes my job exciting, is every day I don't know what's going to come down the pipe.
Is the or are those exercises that you hand out, is that something you can share with us? Maybe a couple that you've handed out?
Yeah, some of the odd ones.
Oh, the odder the better. Yes.
Todd, you're so great. Okay, let me make sure that they wouldn't mind me talking about this. I don't think they would. So the young boy that had migraines, they had gotten, like, his mom had met me. So I do corporate classes as well, which that has changed since COVID. I've only done one. So it's so fun to talk about this outlandish stuff, and to know I can also do corporate work, because I can work on consciousness and mindfulness and meditation, that sort of thing. Anyway, the mom had done a corporate class with me. I think she called me first going, hey, I'm having, I don't know what to do with my son. Can we come and see you? I'm like, yes, definitely. So their work, believe it or not, had to do with spiders. Okay, this is one of those that was very out there. And I remember sitting there with both of them, and I'm like, spiders. Okay, it just popped into my head. And I'm like, okay, tell me how you guys feel about spiders. And right off the bat, both of them were like, we hate them. And they talked about killing a whole bunch. I'm like, okay, for some reason, this is going to help you with your migraines if you start to embrace them and bring them into your life. And at the end, Todd, no kidding, he ended up having a pet spider. It was about this big in his room. Okay. He also had on his brainstem, there was a lot of fluid that was building up, and they were going to have to do surgery or whatever. It stopped and went away. So I'm making this fairly brief, but he would come in and I'd do body work on him. So I can do sessions face-to-face or remotely. So whatever I do face-to-face, I do remotely as well. So, and working with him, I did a lot with spiders, and there was this beautiful lavender colored purple amethyst cave, and the spiders would come in and wrap him in a gentle cocoon. And he, for some reason too, he had to learn to love them, because spiders are so helpful and beautiful in our world. So at the time, I did not love spiders. I was kind of neutral, but at the end, I also had this, oh my God, they're just so beautiful, and their energy, and they're amazing. Spiders are amazing.
Yeah, they are. And when you do that reframe, you really see the beauty of them.
Yes.
And I'm glad you told us this. I like the ones that it came to you. It came to you from spirit. It came to you from energy, telling you how to work this. And I am so glad you're not doing a cookie cutter where if you have a headache, you get this. If you have a stomach ache, you get this. And this is what this means. Each person is different. Each energy is different. And I'm so happy that you approach each energy for what it needs and not for what helped in the past. And you just have to, for me, I have to keep my head out of it and not try to overthink things. Do you do that, or is it something that just comes naturally to you, where you just kind of clear and then those things come to you?
It's a process, because a part of me needs to be there, because there are some things sometimes that I hear that I have to evaluate. And this happens so quickly at this point, because not everything is meant to be shared. So I am important in that. And then trusting myself. And that's been a large part of the process too, knowing that you, if I may say this, are going to broaden yourself in terms of your own work. It is sometimes you hear these outlandish things sometimes, and I've been doing it long enough that I go, no, this is okay. And I tell my clients too, this may sound outlandish, but it is not. I have been doing this long enough. I just know. And I see things, hear things, smell things, whatever needs to come at that moment. And it's so natural right now that it just is. And it just is all the time. Like if we started talking about you right now, it can just happen in a heartbeat. I don't have to clear myself or get into it. It just it just is all the time, which a lot of times, Todd, that's a lot. It's a lot.
I bet. It can be a lot, very much. I love the spider story. And as you were leading to that, you were talking about what boiled down to limiting beliefs. I don't think you said limiting beliefs, but when a doctor says, this is never going to go away, you're going to have it the rest of your life.
Yes.
And you believe that, now you've been stuck. And I know this isn't to the magnitude of what you're talking about, but I can remember in either late grade school or early junior high watching a TV show, and they were talking about athletes and sprinters, and they were saying that sprinters are born with more quick twitch muscles than normal people, and that you can't build on that. You can't, if you're not a fast runner, you're not going to be a fast runner. It's just not going to happen. Well, we found that to be absolutely not the truth, but I bought into it. And that's one of those things that I look back on wishing somebody would have said, no, guess what? Hard work and practice and determination and belief will get you past that. You may not be the fastest sprinter right now. And I never wanted to be a sprinter, but I was a distance runner, but to be a miler or even a 2-miler, there are parts of that where you are like a sprinter. And I bought into the limiting belief that, well, I don't have a lot of quick twitch muscles, so I'm not going to be a sprinter. I wish somebody would have talked to me about limiting beliefs and moving past those.
Yeah. So what there used to be recently, at least in the last decade, that the brain doesn't continue growing after a certain period in your life, which is a bunch of malarkey. Like
Yes.
everything, I believe genetically. So I also work on genetics as well. This work taps into DNA. So your family has had this history. So potentially I'm going to get something. No, you're not. Let's change that up. Anything is possible. Anything can happen. It is when you tap into the quantum and you tap into this, magic is possible. And I know it because it happens to me every day, good and not so good as well. But I'm cool with that. And I'm sure we're going to talk about that some too. Yes.
Yeah, anything can happen. And I'm just making a note about that. And the brain keeps growing and keeps developing. And again, another limiting belief. I can remember being in college.
Yeah.
When I was a psychology major, and they were saying that to us. And I was in the military at the time, and I had the high and tight, it was obvious that I was in the military. And, and there's some baggage that comes with that. They expect you to be kind of a roughhouser and staying up too late and doing things. And the teacher said, every time you have so many ounces of alcohol, you lose this many brain cells, and they're never replaced. And one of the people in the class points over at me and says, he's going to die in a couple months if that's true. They didn't know me, but for some reason they picked up on that. And so, yeah, and that's just another one of those myths that we believed forever. That if you had brain trauma, you were stuck with it. If you had diminished capacity, you were stuck with it. You're not stuck with anything. The sky's the limit on virtually anything you want to do.
Mm-hmm. And I have right now, as my youngest client, like I've worked with babies before. So let's say ranging from babies, I think my oldest client, if we're going to talk about age, is 75 years old. Nothing. And I have people that have come into me going, oh, I wish I had done this earlier. And I'm like, it doesn't matter. You can beat yourself up with that if you want to, yet you're doing it now. And a part of you wasn't ready for this earlier.
Right.
So love yourself, love it, and go. Just go.
And another nice thing about when you do this, yes, you're ready for it physically, but the changes you're going to make when you get into that quantum energy take care of you in your present, your future, and your past.
Exactly.
So even though you didn't do it earlier, you're going to be reframing things. You're changing your energy. You're changing the way that whole thing played out. And so realistically, you did hear about it earlier, and it's taking care of itself as you're doing this process. Because I'll tell you, time outside of our physical bodies is a jumbled up mess that I wouldn't even try to describe. Everything touches everything at the same time. It's as close as I can get.
Yes. And to tag on to that, I did have one woman come to see me who she just wanted to feel happier. And part of her journey was that she needed to connect to her father that had passed away. And within that, what is so beautiful about this too is when someone passes away or is on the other side, whatever you want to call it. For me, I see different levels and layers. There's this part that is still very connected to the human life that they had here on this earth. And then there's this ascended part. And for some souls, there are multiple parts. Yet with her, for example, and what I can help people with is there was this major issue that needed to be healed. And I could heal it with him and with her simultaneously. And it needed to happen. It needed to happen for both of them too. It couldn't just be hers. He needed to be a part of it and be brought into it. And there were times when he could not come in the room because there were certain things that she and I needed to work on personally. And then when she was ready for him, we could bring him in. So at the end of it, there was this just beautiful softening and conclusion. It was a done issue. So not only can you heal from physical challenges, but issues that have been with you for your entire life, you can finally take a breath. And again, the same thing, realize that they were a part of your life. Not that we're going to, shove this out the door and you're never going to have to think about it again. Yeah, you might think about it, but even your thoughts about it are going to be completely different. And at the end of it, she had love for her dad and he had love for her. It was awesome.
And you said
yeah, go ahead.
Did you say the dad had passed?
Oh, yes.
Yes. So you were working with him in spirit and you were able to still get all this done, which I think is so powerful. And that's a lot of what I do is working in spirit and working with spirit. There's been a number of people I worked with that had issues with parents that were gone or grandparents that were gone or whatever the case is. And almost miraculous changes take place when you're able to deal with that.
Yeah. So it's not a traditional psychic where, hey, I want to come in and talk to you about my dead, father and you have this necklace on from him. I do not do that. It is, your father's here, or someone will come in and be like, I need something is troubling with this person that just passed. So that's how we work on things. And I do have every once in a while someone come in who just wants to connect to a loved one. Yet I am all about healing on a deep level, on their level and your level, both.
Okay. And I want to talk to you about how you describe on a deep level. To me, when I'm doing this, it's whatever the reverse of deep would be. It feels like, and again, because time and energy are so weird, it doesn't feel like I'm doing a deep dive. It almost feels like I'm doing a high level work. And we're probably talking about the same thing, but the words are hanging me up. As I picture it in my mind, it's not necessarily, deep things, but it's big things that are, and I kind of place them above us for some reason, is where they live in my physical mind, and maybe in my energy mind as well. So I don't know, does that line up at all or make any sense?
Yes. And I would encourage you, I guess that's the word, that it's not higher, it's not below us, it just is, and it's all around us all the time.
Just is. And I love that. And it's almost like you're just be. Just is a close, happy cousin of just be. And I love that. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
that's a little bit of my hang up, a little bit of other people's hang up is putting words on these things and trying to get definitions on things that really can't be defined. As we're working on these things, they don't fit into a box. They don't. It's such a big, broad thing that we're working on that it's really hard to define it and just make labels work, because the labels just don't fit, at least labels that we can construct in our physical body.
Right. And it's really challenging for people to also hear those labels and understand those labels. Because, Todd, when you ask me, well, Eden, tell me about yourself. I'm like, okay, let me use these words. And coming from an advertising background, even though that's been a long time ago, I do all my own graphics and writing. I have changed my wording so many different times because people ask me, same thing, Eden, what do you do? Well, I can tell you, but until you experience it, you can take those words in, but you're not fully going to comprehend it or understand it, because it goes beyond words. It goes into feeling and the heart. And, we're learning to open up this mechanism more, because this is the driver. I mean, the brain is important. The gut is important. My job is to connect all of those together, yet this be the driver. And we're not used to that too, because in our dimension, the third dimension, everything is so intellectual, coming from here versus feeling and being a psychological empath and intuitive. Everything is about feeling. Of course, I have to bring this in as well. Yet this is the queen or the king or the treasure, if you want to call it that. And then describing the heart and emotions and changes. And how do you describe magic and beauty and divinity? Go. Right?
Yeah. And what I can say is, even though I ask you to describe yourself and talk about what you do, by just being around your energy, even though it's coming through the internet and we're thousands of miles away from each other, that answer comes out. And it's not in words. It's not it's in your energy. It's in the feeling that people get as they're listening to you. So you could have almost used gibberish, I think, and had that effect on people where they felt what you were doing.
You're so lovely. Let me add on to that too. Part of my work right now, and going into what I consider right now the Great Awakening, which it does have a political basis because everything's involved in it. Yet this is do you mind if I go into this for just a second?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. Because it's just
you're the star of the story of this show. We're going where you want to go. Yeah. The guest is the star. So you do your thing.
Okay. So the Great Awakening is moving from our three-dimensional world, and we're in the lower quadrants of the fourth right now, moving into the fifth dimension. So my job through my spiritual work is not only to see clients and make them feel better or to increase their vibration, yet it is key that I work constantly, and I do, to increase my vibration, because not to say that this is not egotistical at all, or not coming from an egotistical place, that if my vibration is big, which it is, my vibration will help thousands of other people elevate without me doing a darn thing, but just being me and holding that vibration and holding that light. And because I also believe, how do I say this? And Todd, we've talked some about this, and I feel like we need to talk about it before. There is this spiritual battle going on right now, and I do not say battle lightly. It's even to come out of my mouth, it's taken some experience where I see it clearly, that it is a battle, that it is warfare, evil and goodness, even Satan and God. I mean, getting really heavy duty. I used to say just light and dark, but it is more than just light and dark. I told you about this one aspect, and I want to, there are two now that I can bring up. So I clear houses occasionally. And again, I go into it not like, oh my gosh, we got to clear this evilness. And I go in with love. and just really seeing whatever might be there and not be judgmental. Whatever they want to present to me, I'm good, and I just bring light into it. However, I went into a house, I don't it's probably been 3 months at this point, and they had experiences where the wife had her hair clamped and she was drugged down the stairs. So not just, opening of drawers and that sort of thing, like heavy duty stuff. So they had someone already come in and clear it, yet there was still activity going on. So I came in and felt that there was this portal down in the basement, and they knew that the basement was where activity was happening. So I went down there, I like to bring sage just because it smells good, and energy wise, it's just awesome. Went down there, sat, and suddenly I saw the most ferocious demons I've ever seen in my life. And I've seen a lot of things, yet they were showing me them taking my physical body, tearing it to shreds. It was demonic, and it was not good. So I called my mentor, because suddenly I'm like, I don't quite know what to do with this. And she said, you need to say the Lord's Prayer multiple times. And as you're repeating it, you have to say with all of your strength. And then imagine that all of these demons, these entities, are going back in the portal. The door is closing. And I was supposed to have lunch with them after. She said, no, you need to go. Once you're done, assume that it's done and leave. So that is what I did. Went upstairs. When we were done, I told the couple, I can't have lunch with you right now. Don't worry about it. Everything's good. Yet I just need to go. And then even when I came home, I still felt things. So I'm like, okay, I've got to put this to bed. That was shocking in a way, because but it was good, because I needed to see firsthand what we are dealing with, and to really see it is not good. It's not just the light and the dark. It's Todd, what other words can I put to it? It besides evil and Satan. And it was just, they had no care for me. They didn't care that I was giving them love. They did not care at all. And I'm not used to that. Okay. Can I tell you? Weird. Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say and the great part is we don't run into a lot of that. It's the exception rather than the rule, that you find something that dark and awful and evil, whatever word you want to use for it. Thankfully, that's not the norm. But you do run into it.
Yes. And let me tag onto that, not to scare people or put frightening fear out there. My belief is right now, because the darkness is fighting wherever they can to get a hold onto things, this is possibly going to increase. People noticing ghostly type things who would never have believed that before. I believe there's going to be a little bit more of that happening right now. Okay, let me add on this other thing. All right, so I work on my vibration continuously. I can say this, I am the light. I stopped 2 weeks ago. Also, no more sugar in my diet, because sugar really eats into your energy field, processed sugar. I didn't drink much alcohol anyway, but I quit that completely. Caffeine as well. So that's also more pieces that activate your pineal gland. So I'm really big into helping decalcify that as well. So your pineal gland is your birthright, your connection to consciousness, the seat of consciousness, all of that. So anyway, I'm going along my day, Friday, I have clients come in, started feeling a little nauseous. Then boom, I was on the floor. I went into, not to be graphic, but went to the, hugging the toilet. And it's really interesting. When I get nauseous, there is just energy that comes out of my hands. So nothing happened. So I went back and laid on the floor, and suddenly I heard these voices. So I was supposed to be in a podcast that afternoon. I heard these voices basically saying, you need to shut up. Horrible. It was like those demons again. We're going to take your voice from you. You need to stop it. So I stood up and I went, no, you are only here if I somehow allow you to be here. So just like I did with those demons in the house, I demand you to leave. I didn't say the Lord's Prayer on this one, but this one is, I am a sovereign being. I am free. I am going to speak my truth. And no, see you later. So psychologically attacked by the darkness is what I'm calling it, which is what it is. It showed me that right now, especially for me, it's not about asking for protection anymore. I feel like that's kind of old school at this point. We are merging all of these, the darkness and the light. So as sovereign, free beings, we have to stand on our truth and basically tell the darkness, no. Okay, and I'm not talking about being psychologically attacked. Like every day, what do you believe in? Do you believe in God or whatever you want to call it, divinity? Do you believe in the light? Where is your mindset? Are you listening to the news? Are you going into fear? What are you putting inside of your body? What are you putting inside of your head? This is because of my experience Friday, which I knew this was important anyway, but now I'm just like, I'm on a podium and I'm just, be shaking my hands at you guys. It is so important. And Todd, you doing this work, and I've been talking to you about it, that anyone who has these abilities, it is going to be needed more and more and more to show people that there's so much more to this earth. And we can also talk about other beings that are going to be helping, other light beings as well. So I also knew that there, oh gosh, I'm just rattling off. Let me take a breath. And then I'll go into the Schumann resonance frequency. Todd, please do not let me forget about that.
On which one?
Yeah, I'll go into the Schumann resonance frequency in just a second,
okay.
which is scientific proof that all this is happening right now.
Okay.
I had believed, okay, so I became really aware of the Great Awakening probably 3 years ago. I had always believed that we were not alone, yet now I know intrinsically that we're not. And figuring out I'm a starseed for the Pleiadians as well. So there's so much more to this Earth and to our galaxy so this is part of also, and it's one of the reasons I love talking to you and you knowing this and understanding this, that this is all going to come into play. And people are going to start seeing that we're not alone. So I also like talking about that just to give people a little heads up. Yes. All of this is real. Okay, so let me go into the Schumann resonance frequency, and I have a little document because sometimes numbers do not stick in my head. So I do want to communicate this to you guys in terms of ascension and the vibration. Okay, the Schumann resonance frequency, and you can look this up, was named after German physicist Winfried Otto Schumann. He predicted this frequency mathematically starting in 1952. It is also called the heartbeat of the Earth, and within it, it is basically data collection that measures the frequency of our planet. Now, the baseline frequency was in 1954 derived at 7.83 hertz, and that's considered the stable frequency. And this is measured at in Russia. Did I write this down? Oh, yeah. A space monitoring center in Tomsk, Tomsk, Russia. And you can go on the website and see it every day where it is. All right. In 2014, suddenly, the baseline frequency of 7.83 hertz started increasing and went up to spikes of 15 to 25 hertz levels. So doubling. On my podcast on July 18th, because I don't check this every day, but there I went to the site. They were experiencing spikes. Okay, get this again. 7.83 being the baseline. Spikes of 80 to 90 hertz. Okay, and to the point where energies were going off the charts, they couldn't even measure it, and the time frames with this happening were huge. So something is shifting on this earth. It is undeniable.
And how do they find this? What are they saying this frequency is? Are they believing that this is our what humans are putting out? What I love that a physicist has come up with this. And is he saying this vibration is something coming from the earth or from on top of the earth, or where? Do you know where they're finding it?
I would say, not that from my instincts, I would say we're all a part of the frequency, human beings there. And I think the earth is a living being as well. It's not, just something that we're all on top of, or however you want to say it, that the collective, basically to me, measures the collective consciousness.
I love it. I absolutely love it. And I love that it's going up, and it's going up at a crazy rate.
Crazy.
If you were to chart that, it would really be quite the thing to look at. You look at the charts that just go up and up and up that they show on TV talking about sales and things like that. That is an incredible increase. And I'm guessing that they believe that 7.83 had been around for millennia, probably, as a constant number, and then started going up.
Yes. And let me put out there too, that this Great Awakening has been centuries old. So, and the fact that your listeners and viewers are alive during this time, it is a very special time to be here. Yet what I feel is creating right now is essentially, okay, this is where it gets a little tough, that in order to move into this golden age, in order to move into the fifth dimension, our world is going to have to crumble. And that means to me, educationally, financially, medically, we are on the brink of some heavy, heavy stuff. And Todd, this is why I think it's so important, again, for you to be doing what you're doing. There are going to be so many people that are going to need support and need assistance in terms of talking about other beings. Like, a lot of people do not believe in aliens or whatever. What are they going to do when they're confronted with something, when that becomes real? And so much of our history is not true. There's going to be so much cognitive dissonance. And there's so many people right now, even clients of mine, whose heads are in the sand because, Eden, I really don't want to know what's all going on. Yet you do. If you don't look at it, somehow you are a part of it. And even to say, well, you're a part of evil, but I'm not evil. Just the fact that you're ignoring it and you're not looking at the truth, you at some point are saying it's okay for this evil, for things to happen. So yeah, that's a pretty tough way to say it. And I don't know if I'm communicating it quite correctly, but it is time for us, especially those who work on spirituality and work for energy, to stand up. Be ourselves, be truth. And it is so key for me right now just to talk about the Great Awakening as well, because this is so much a part of what I do as well. So I can't separate it.
Right. And it's coming. We need to not only prepare, but be immersed in it. We need to be ready to be a part of it. It's because it's coming, whether people want it to or not. Yes. And I think most people do want it to. There's some that things will change too much for them and they won't want to be a part of it. But I think there's some beautiful, beautiful things coming forward. But we do have to go through a birthing process, and it could get ugly during that.
Yes. And the fifth dimension is about, just imagine this. Okay. So I'm going to go through some of the crap as well, but I want to give you where we're heading. It is about living completely from the heart. It is about being in a world where there's complete unity consciousness. It is about being in a world that potentially, well, right now we have to live to survive on money. Mm-hmm. What if we don't have that anymore? You can do what makes your heart sing and not have to worry about that. Some people may get paid, some people won't. And we are going to be, I'm getting loud again. Oh, we are going to be so much lighter. There's rainbow bodies. What is the fifth dimension is called the realm of light, abundance, universal flow. It's just, And it's going to be potentially a little painful to get there. Yet, the more you work on your vibration, again, my job is whatever comes through to me, whatever I see, whatever I learn, sometimes it's challenging, but to always get back to that calm, neutral baseline. Okay. And that's what everybody else needs to do. All right. Let me give you one issue that's going on right now that I think that people can see. I guess that are you aware of Balenciaga, the controversy that's happening with this luxury brand at this point?
I am not.
Okay. So they just completed a photo shoot. Okay, when I talk about getting into Satan and evil, okay, just broaden your mind, people, because it's real. It's hard to accept first at this level, but it's real. So they did a photo shoot with two separate shots, each having a young girl, probably a young kid, she looked about 4 or 5 years old, holding a bag, and this bag was a cute little animal, yet the animal was in bondage, okay, and also had black eyes. So if you start going down the rabbit hole and see what that means, it does not mean good things. Then throughout the photo shoot, there were things just plugged into it that when you really start to look, it's just scary. For at one point, they had a Supreme case document or something torn up, which had to do with child trafficking. This part of it, even talking about it, this is unbelievable stuff. Yet it is true. So many people at this point are not shopping Balenciaga, cutting up bags, cutting up clothes. This is one of those things that this happening, finally people could see the reality of things. Like when you have a little kid in there holding a bag that is just, what the heck? And these are kids. What's going on? This goes deep. It goes into luxury brands. It goes into these stars that basically are a part of these brands. All of this, Todd, incredibly, incredibly deep. And once you start going down the rabbit hole, your eyes are going to be open to things that are unfathomable. Yet we have to do it. We have to look at what is going on right in front of our faces. And the big thing about this is it is a fight. When I talk about a spiritual battle, it is a fight for our souls. And I would like to have my soul. I don't know about you. Would you?
I would. Yes. I've pretty much ruined my body. So that's I'm counting on the soul to take care of things.
Listen, what have we just talked about in terms of ruining your body? Your body can be fabulous.
Fabulous. And it's working its way back to that. Yes,
good.
It is.
All right. So what did you think about me talking about Balenciaga? What are your thoughts?
So as I'm hearing it, picturing it, and I have not looked it up. I'm going to look it up when we're done today. Yes. It made me, I was getting sick. I was having thoughts of, as you're watching TV shows and they'll show somebody holding a baby and the baby's crying. I always think, why is that baby crying? Did they pinch it, to get that response for TV? Did they do something to hurt it? And it's always really gotten under my skin that they'll be showing a baby crying on a TV show or a movie. Because in my mind, I believe somebody hurt that baby to get that response, to get that recording. And that's where I went when you started talking about having those little kids there holding those bags and how disgusting that was what's going on with the parents, what's going on with society to allow that to happen. Why would a designer decide that this is a good thing, and why would parents go along with it? I had a lot of different thoughts, and
yes,
none of it was pleasant.
Yes, and as a parent, letting your child be in this photo shoot, and when you look at the kids, they are not smiling either. It's not like, oh, I'm holding this bag. They have this just look of just blankness. And the one girl, there are serpents on the wall behind her, like dragons, and just these black entities, and Balenciaga. Okay, so coming from advertising, which is my background, I was on a lot of photo shoots. When you're on a photo shoot, the client approves every bit and piece. So Balenciaga, what they attempted to do initially was, oh, we're so sorry about this. We're going to blame it on I don't know if they blamed it on the photographer, but the ad agency as well. And the photographer basically said, no, y'all approved everything. So they tried to scapegoat. So just to let you guys know, that is not how advertising and your photo shoots work. Everything goes to the client. Everything has to be approved by the client. So yeah, if people could even start having the willingness to look at that and to see what is going on out there. And with them, it's so Kering is the parent company that owns them. They also own Gucci, McQueen, and several other luxury brands. It's so easy just to shoot an email and go, hey, what you're doing is very uncool. So it's one of those things that doesn't take a lot of effort for people to start standing up and using their voice and basically saying, because this is downright with kids. This is not comfortable with children. You cannot do this with children. You're not advertising to children, yet you're putting children in these ads, and children may see them and adults are going to see them. This is wrong. This is wrong.
Yeah, I agree. And parents, there are parents out there that think their child is the next big star, and they make bad decisions trying to get them into that place where they can be a big star, and things get taken advantage of. Hopefully things that they would never do if they weren't blinded by this ambition. But it really scares me when I see kids put in those kind of positions. I just watched the new movie about Marilyn Monroe, and there was a very disturbing scene with a little girl running naked through this thing and going into a room and a man staring at her. Why would you, first, how did that get in a script, and why would the parents let her do that?
Yes.
And you want to shock people and whatever, but that is just so far past where we should be as a society. And this awakening that we're working on, I hope, will clean up a lot of that rodent insect type behavior that would allow a parent to let that happen.
Definitely. And I want to add this in there. So my podcast basically starts out gently before I started having guests into what the Great Awakening is, giving you gently, why don't you look at this? Why don't you look at this? Now it's really hardcore in terms of, hey, no more being gentle anymore because this is happening. So I would encourage your folks, if they're interested at all, to find Just Be Spiritual. Boom! The first episode does talk about the dimensions, and then each one tags into that. I talk about the Schumann resonance frequency, the pineal gland, so it can get you up to speed in terms of what's happening. And I do want to throw this out there. So Hollywood, as you talk about parents and kids, the movie about the two Coreys, what they went through in Hollywood. There was The Open Secret, which goes, I think it was like four or five boys and what they experienced, because there weren't parents, or there were parents there, but parents went, oh, go ahead. I trust this agent. I trust this person. What they experienced was horrific. And this happens all the time. And there are connections. And again, there's this agent who's connected to this photographer who they work things together, who's connected to this. I mean, it's a breeding ground for things. And even to hear myself say this, I'm like, oh my gosh, Eden, you're it's true. Once you start looking into it, and yeah, it is just, it's a lot. But you're right. All of this has to come to the surface in order for us to change and move into the light, that the darkness needs to be exposed. And the part that we have to accept too is that we are all the darkness as well, that this didn't just happen, that we either by our ignorance allowed it to happen, yet we have to see it and embrace it, which can be really hard as well. Whew, okay, that wore me out a little bit. Whew.
Yeah.
Sweat off my brow. Okay, what else do you want to talk about?
Holy moly, I am kind of sideways now. Let me check something real quick.
Okay.
Oh, there we go. That Todd knew what I was talking about. Todd, yeah, I think that is a good time for us to head to a break. So if you could go ahead and take us away, and we'll be back in a few minutes with more Slipstream Shaman, Quantum Healing, and Beyond.
Certified psychic medium Stephanie Lynn creates an authentic connection between the living and the spirit world. Stephanie knows she is here to help heal, educate, and provide validation that there is more after death, and allows herself to be a conduit and work as a team with spirit to pass on messages from their world to ours. Stephanie Lynn also works as a spiritual life coach to help you achieve, create, and manifest your best self and life. Looking for help communicating with an animal? Searching for a past life regression therapist? Or dealing with a paranormal experience? Stephanie Lynn is here to help. For a list of full services, visit her on Facebook under Stephanie Lynn Spirit Sensitive. That's Stephanie Lynn Spirit Sensitive.
And we are back to Slipstream Shaman, Quantum Healing, and Beyond. How are you feeling? We went through the teleporter there, and I think there was some pretty serious energy going out to the world for a few minutes there.
It is great. I love seeing other Todd's book. I hope I can comment on the commercials and the other medium. So yeah, I'm a spiritual life coach as well. I don't use those words, but yeah, I liked seeing all that and working with animals. I do that as well. So I'm like, oh yeah, I understand that. I feel that because yeah, everything has energy. So I can work with plants. I can work with this desk. I can work with inanimate objects. It's crazy. Do you understand that, Todd?
It's amazing. And one of my favorite things is we don't, in the fields that we're in, we don't have a lot of empirical proof to show people other than, we say we worked with this person and now they're better, or we did this and things are happening. But there's other things out there that people can say, well, it's this or it's this or it's this that might help. But one thing we can look at, there's an experiment that's been replicated where they took water and I don't remember the exact process, but they gave it positive energy. They were using Reiki or something and just positive energy, positive intention, positive thoughts to this water. And then they froze it and looked at the ice crystals. They poured 2 things of water. The ice crystals from the jar that they gave that positive energy to were just these gorgeous ice crystals, very dynamic, wonderful forms, very strong. And the ones from the water that wasn't were just kind of a mess, just kind of whatever happened. And so we can see that, yes, everything is energy and it can be touched and it can be worked with, and beautiful things result when we do.
Yes. And they also had words. They said the words like evil and hate, and looking at the water crystals that formed from that, they were just disjointed and very, very ugly, or even the word ugly presented
Mm-hmm.
ugly water crystals as well. I was just trying to look up, that's Maruto. Oh, I'm butchering his name, but a Japanese scientist who passed away a couple years ago. So one of my podcasts also talks about that, because that is, it's one of those things. Just look at the pictures. It's amazing. Amazing.
There it is right there.
Mhm.
Absolutely. And that kind of leads to another thing. My whole life I've kind of made fun of myself for humor to get a laugh. And that hurts you. You don't realize it. You're getting a laugh, you think it's fun, but that does hurt you. You're creating an energy that somewhere in you, in your deepest psyche, in your highest level of energy, in your body, whatever, believes it and is hurt by those things. So even when you say things in joke, like I said something about my body was ruined, so I have to have a good, spirit or whatever it is. We need to stop doing that. Even though it's funny and it's a habit, we really need to say nice things to ourselves and each other, because those things have power, just like they showed with the water.
Yes. So essentially you are hurting yourself on some level. And words matter, thoughts matter, and words are thoughts in action. So for me, I am very, especially when I'm working with a client, I am very, it's almost like, again, it's become so natural. I'm closing my eyes for just a moment, but every word that I say, I am very conscious of it. I am very picky with what words I give. I also work with people in terms of the words that they're giving themselves. If you can transition to this word versus this one offers a higher vibration, and then we can get you to this word later. So working in tiers of feeling better, of using better words, better thoughts, because it's a process. It doesn't happen immediately. And putting faith into that too. I don't call myself a faith healer, but that's a part of what it is too, knowing that all of my work is God-centered, is light-centered. And with that, sometimes, again, I use the word magic. Again, magic can just happen. You have to work at it, but sometimes you don't. It just, boom, happens.
It's just there. It's just
there. Right. And especially now with this great awakening coming and the vibrations being larger, vaster, everyone is and this is important too. Everyone is incredibly supported in their healing, more than ever before. Not just yourself, but entities, God, whatever. All beings are just sitting there going, go. You go, man. You go, girl. You go, person. Do it. Everybody's on your side.
Yes. In your work,
yes.
I'm just curious, and I don't know where this question just kind of came from the ether just now, but
awesome.
During your work, have you seen the future that you believe is coming?
I feel it.
Feel it or see it? Yes, feeling it.
Yes. And again, sometimes I get, a combination of sight, feeling, but I just like, even just sitting here, when you asked me that question, I'm like, oh yeah, I feel it. I feel it right now. And I had one of guests on my podcast as well, that they've experienced now, they're very light beings. Let's call them that they're okay. For example, they were on a hike and this tour bus got off and the people walked right through them. So they are experiencing it now.
They were on a hike and the people walked right through them. So their bodies had broken down into the molecules and electrons and allowed. Did the people in the bus see them, or did they walk through them just like they were a ghost?
Yeah, so they call it kind of this big split as well, that everyone, they believe, and I love this too, because a lot of people hold to the fact that, some people are going to stay in the third dimension. Not everyone's going to ascend, because this also gets into a biblical rationale. Oh, we're going to leave people behind and, sinners are going to stay. They feel very strongly, and I feel this too, that everybody is going to ascend. It's just going to be a different process. for everyone. So because they are already at a good vibrational level, they are experiencing it now. So that's part of my vibrational self-talk work to myself is I am in the 5D. I am right now. And I love saying that to myself. So whenever I get down or I get into, because I'm a human being too, it's not like I'm all rosy and sunshine all the time. I'm human, and people, there's still this, there's death, and even though we know that death, there's more to it than meets the eye. Yeah, there still are hardships out there. And I have to all the time bring better words to myself. And again, sometimes things are much easier with things, but again, I work myself. And if I didn't work for people to come see me, knowing that what would be the point to come see me if I've mastered it all?
Yeah.
I got it all going on. I know everything. I do not. I'm a human being just like you. And I just don't sit up here and talk the talk. I have to walk the walk on a daily, moment by moment basis. And to be in the present, that's challenging.
To be in the present is very
Yes.
challenging. And I would say that's something, if you asked people, what could we fix about your thoughts?
Yes.
That would be probably the number one answer is, how do I stay present? How do I be fully present? I can't tell you how many hundreds of people I've heard that from.
Oh.
And a minute ago you said, I am in the fifth dimension. And so much saying I am in the fifth dimension compared to I will be in the fifth dimension,
Right.
is a completely different sentence. Or I'm working towards the fifth dimension. Completely different than I am in the fifth dimension.
Mm-hmm.
And something people can do to make things better immediately for them is change how they talk about the different things that go on during the day. If you say, I get to do something, as opposed to I have to do something, it completely changes.
Yes.
If somebody says, I have to do 10 push-ups today, they're on some thing where they're doing a push-up challenge. They might get the 10, but they're going to be really struggling. When they say I get to, it changes the whole thing.
It's like
I
an
get to do 10
invitation.
push-ups. Yes.
I have a choice. It's not like,
Yes.
oh, I have to do this. I have no choice. I have a choice in my life and how I'm going to see it and how I'm going to do it. Yes. Yes. And I give, like if someone's really challenged with something, sometimes they're not ready to say I am yet. So we do talk about I am getting towards this point, that sometimes that is key in the process as well. Like making the jump from I can't do this to, oh, I am this, can be really hard. And also with the energy not lining up at all, that's significant as well. So there has to be some lineup or some belief. And there's a lot of faking it till you make it. Yet if you have to fake it too much, that doesn't get you there as well. So again, a process with wording and all of that.
Yep. And what you're describing kind of sounds like me many times when I say, oh, it's too much in my head. Not quite believing it on a physical level, that I can do it on the spiritual level and energy level. And so you, like you said, there's a process to go through the wording, to go through to what you're doing. And everybody finds their process and finds their way in their own time. And it's okay if somebody's not as far along the path as the people that they're working with. Mm-hmm. As long as they're wanting to go, they'll get there. It's just everybody has a different method. Everybody has a different evolution rate, whatever you want to call it, and just accept that. It's okay. It's okay to be a little different. It's fine to be different. Just be looking at what you can do that gets you there.
Yes. Yes, it's excellent to be different, because again, if we were all the same, it'd be boring as all get out. And I have a person that I work with, Todd. I want to throw this out to you. I feel it is very important for spiritual healers to have someone that they also go see. And this is really important because I encourage you, if you are seeing someone, to ask if they're seeing someone as well. Because my mentor helps me get out of my own way, see things from a different perspective. And again, my perspective has opened and changed so much, yet she's always there for me. If I get stuck, if I need support. And within that, I also, think everyone should have their person or someone that can really help them on a spiritual level, whether you're struggling with an issue or you just want someone who can be there for you and see you in totality. And that's what I love about her. And that's what I love about doing for other people is I see you.
Nice. Uh-oh. That was a powerful statement, and we froze. We'll get with Eden in just a second.
Oh,
there we go.
There we go.
Eden, I heard I see you, and you had your hand out, and then we froze.
Before I couldn't see you anymore. That was quite funny. Yeah. So to go to someone, to have someone who's got your back, that immediately with me, you can come in the room, like same with you. You don't have to talk to me. You don't have to tell me your story. And I know more about you immediately than probably most people do, because that's my life too. I don't want to just have these superficial connections. I want to connect. Like Todd, I want to connect to you. I want to know you. I want to get my fingers all in there, and yeah. So I also just can't have this normal existence anymore. I gotta, yeah, everything's deep. Do you want to talk about near-death experience?
I would love to. And that was on one of my things I wanted to get back to. And I've got so many notes, and I've done a radio show for about 6 years. Yes. I know when it's going well because you lose track of time. You're in that special place where time doesn't exist. And I take tons of notes. And I just want everybody to kind of look.
Oh,
and that's page 1.
Oh, excellent.
That's when I'm doing this, I'm making a note. And so I wanted to talk about NDEs, but it got buried in all my other notes. So my mind is flying, my spirit's flying. I'm really energized on all this. So yes, I hopefully would have gotten back to it, but thank you for bringing that up. And I would love to talk about NDEs.
I think that's a good transition. All right, everybody. So 2016, I was doing this work because I've been doing it for a while. I had a studio, which is unbelievable. So right now I live in Akron, Ohio. It was a meditation-based studio. So, lots of yoga studios around, no meditation studios. So I know there's one in Sedona. I don't know. Maybe there's one in California. It was a big deal. And I was so excited by that. And I had people working with me. And, things were going really well. And I had just moved from a studio that was not so great, let's put it that way, into a studio where basically a client of mine had this space for 7 months. He was like, you can move into it, Eden, for free, not have to pay rent, yet you have this time frame, this shorter time frame. Okay, I moved from a place called Kruger Plaza, which was essentially, when you think of Freddy Krueger, I mean, it was a 1950s plaza. There was, I worked in partnership with a yoga studio. There was a handyman right beside it who could be on the show Hoarders. There was a store right next to it, just a convenience store that they sold bait for fishing. I mean, it was not glamorous, yet it was a good place to start. Good place to start. Then this client basically said, here, Eden, take this spot in this corporate building. I mean, there was an oral surgeon right next to me and then a lawyer right next. So a complete change in energy and vibes. And because I wasn't sharing the studio with anybody anymore, I got to go in, do whatever I wanted. I mean, the space was mine. My daughter at the time was going to this art school. So I had 8th graders come on, paint, one side of the hall and in my vision, or whatever you want to call it. It was beautiful. So anyway, give me a second. I had been there, I think 1 or 2 months. Wonderful. And then on a weekend, I started feeling a little bit nauseous, but not bad. And then on Monday, me and the crew went to the school, did some Reiki stuff, which is a form of energy healing as well. Beautiful. And I was getting a little bit more dizzy, kind of what's going on here. I did group classes, ended up canceling classes Wednesday and Thursday because I suddenly took a dive to the point where I did not want to get out of bed. I didn't want to open my eyes, wasn't hungry. My husband at one point basically said, we got to take you to a doc in a box and see, because something's not right. So he basically had to shovel me out of bed, because Todd, I would have stayed in bed and just died, because it was to the point where just opening my eyes did not feel good. So we went to the doc in the box. They basically gave us a migraine tonic and said, if this doesn't work the next day, you need to go to the emergency room. So the next day, it did not work. Went to the emergency room early in the morning. Very quickly, they discovered what was wrong. And what was so funny was, when we went to the emergency room, I laid on the floor, and I distinctly remember the receptionist behind the front desk came out to me and she's like, honey, that floor is riddled with germs. I could have friggin' cared less. I could have put my nose to the floor and just snorted. I didn't give a darn. Anyway, they were not busy, went back after our CAT scan, quickly discovered we had 3 lesions. There were 3 lesions in my brain and 1 in my lung. Okay. And very interesting too, that I had lesions in my brain. All of my work is about meditating, moving beyond the brain, seeing what's going on in the brain, thoughts. Of course, it's about the heart and all of that too, but so much there. So they came to the conclusion, well, it's probably stage 4 lung cancer. Okay. A week. And then boom, this diagnosis. And of course, they're like, have you ever smoked? No. Well, it obviously didn't turn out to be that. Went through 4 different diagnoses, and it was called Nocardia Beijingensis. And I'm the only person in the United States, I think there's one other person worldwide, but I'm not quite sure, that the infection, so I breathed in the infection apparently. And there's more to this. Spiritually, I needed it all. Breathed it in. It went through the brain-blood barrier into my brain. They did a scientific study on me, all of that. So what it led to essentially was 2 craniotomies, 2 solid years of healing, learning how to walk again. Not that it took me 5 months to walk again. It came back pretty quickly, but I mean, it was challenging. And talking, and the only limitation I have at this point is I have what we call kind of black spots on both sides of my vision. And of course, there's one point in my head you can stick a thumb in, and it's just like, what the heck is that? Yeah. So there's some physical things up there. Yet after I got my first craniotomy, which again, they're like, these 3 lesions are in your head. They're just, expanding and they were just growing like monstrous. We're going to attempt to get them out of there, but we can only get one. So we're going to use steroids for the rest. So in the first craniotomy, they basically said, hey, we don't know exactly what's going to happen when you come out of this. Hopefully you can talk. Hopefully you can use your limbs, but you might not be able to. Good luck. And we don't know what's going to happen with this surgery either. So see you later. And really interesting, Todd, I have to bring this into it as well. If this hadn't been an emergency, I wouldn't have done the Western route. Yet because it was an emergency, and at the time being married, my family, I guess, was very, you go see a doctor, you go. So it was an interesting blend of using that methodology and bringing my spirituality into it again. So I'm writing a book about this, but also about, I don't think I shared this with you, about the Great Awakening and how all this ties in together. So take a breath for a minute. Anyway, after having this first craniotomy, I was in the ICU, and it was the only time that I was by myself. So I learned at this point, never am I going to be in a hospital room at night alone, because that's when things can really happen. Yet it was perfect at this point. So it was 1 a.m. I came to, my door was not shut. So there was like this shower curtain, in front of the door. So I could hear everything that was going on. And at that point, I could not talk. I could not find the nurse button or whatever. I mean, it was like I was there, but I wasn't there, but I was there. There was, and being in the ICU for a while, knowing that it can be quite dramatic. This night, it was extra special, dramatic. There was someone who came in who had lost the use of all limbs. There was vomiting. There was crying. And then on the other section, or the other half of it, there was the nursing staff. There was laughing. So looking at it going, oh my gosh, this is our world. This is the heaven and hell. This is the delight. This is the horror right in front of my face. And I, at that point, couldn't shut it off. I couldn't ask anyone to come in and shut the door. It was like just to sit there and be in it. And then it was like I heard this voice, or this, it wasn't a tap on my shoulder, but this tap going, hey, look at this, would you? Yeah, Eden. So it wasn't this golden light or, any of that kind of dreamy kind of stuff. It's very matter of fact. Hey, Eden. Yes, this is going on right now. Do you see it? Yes. You have the choice. If you want, you can go right now. You will not feel any pain. You will not feel heartbreak. And I knew everything in my life at that point was pretty darn good. I didn't have to, make amends with anybody. Everything was good. So God, or, the primary creator, whatever fits with you, basically said, yeah, you can go. And don't get me wrong. It's great here. It's great. It'll be great. You'll be fantastic. Or you can choose to stay. Okay. And what you're looking at right in front of your face is choosing to stay. It will be much harder than if you choose to go. Okay. But I'm telling you this without judgment. If you want to leave, that's completely fine. If you want to stay, it's completely your call. I'm not going to sway you in either direction, which was wonderful. Mm-hmm. Wonderful. Yet if you stay, I'm going to tell you, it's going to be challenging, yet you are going to learn so much. It's going to be great. But again, no expectation. It's going to be great because it's going to look like this. I didn't know if I was going to come back and be a quadriplegic. I didn't know. So it took so much trust and faith. And I already had a huge amount of faith because I already worked with divine, already, had so much there. So this wasn't shocking or surprising to me. It was just more. And every day it's just more. So I took everything in and then decided, yeah, I'm gonna stay. And when they asked me what I want to eat the next day, knowing that food is life, I'm gonna eat. And within a matter of time, a nurse came into my room, and somehow I jarbled out that I want my husband to be there. And really interesting, usually when I wanted him to be there, he'd be there very quickly. This time I think it took like 2 or 3 hours. And when he showed up, I was like, oh my gosh. And he basically said, what do you want to have for breakfast? And I pointed at some things in the menu because it was very difficult to speak. Yet what I learned from that also, again, it was so deep, or so elevated, Todd, elevated deep, all of it. That part of it was I was also this job, this studio that I had. I was spending so much time doing the marketing, doing the advertising, where I was not spending that much time doing the spiritual work. So when I got a little bit better, the studio, the 7 months was ending. So we ended up getting another place. All right. This is a woman who's never had brain surgery before. Ended up getting a lease on a place that was 30 minutes from my house. When you have brain surgery, it is not easy to drive. And also sessions for me, I might have a session at 9 and then I might have a session at 4. So driving an hour or 30 minutes to coming back, drive another hour. And it helped me realize that I should not be doing this, that it is taking too much of my time trying to run a company where my time needs to be doing the work. So I had to give it up. And a part of this lesson for me is there have been multiple times I've had to be hit on the head to make a change. And I've asked at this point, no, I don't need that anymore. But this was one of those, to basically go, this is not what you're supposed to be doing with your spiritual arts and your spiritual gifts. So I'm back to my studios out of my home. It's so easy. People come to see me because I do, when I talk about those, the part of my site that is not there right now is I really have a challenge driving at night and in busy traffic as well. Yet if people come to see me, I don't have to worry about that. And part of me is I do my best not to focus on that or to concern myself with that. And the beautiful part about this as well was anyone who comes to me now who is going through something traumatic or physically traumatic, I get it. I was there. I lived it. And there were so many amazing things that happen through this process, human things, spiritual things. Oh, Todd, let me give you this example. This is a lovely one. So I was supposed to the weekend. So Friday, I went to the Doc in a Box. Saturday, went to the emergency room or whatever. Then that day, went to the hospital. That weekend, I was supposed to have, so I used to talk like this. I'm from Statesboro, Georgia. I was supposed to have my high school union that weekend. So obviously didn't go. And from a small town, so most of us who went to high school together went to elementary school together. Like, you know, for what, 18 years or 15 years or whatever, we knew each other. And it doesn't mean that all of us are close, but we have this bond that if someone is not going to show up to a reunion because they're going through something pretty, that everybody knows it and everybody is aware of it. And Statesboro being a very Christian population, Todd, I was put on prayer list after prayer list after prayer list. So that week, and especially that Saturday, because the reunion, the party was going to be happening that night, and on Sunday, there was one point that I felt this overwhelming rush of just, again, hard to put words to it, just this, I can't even put words to it. It was just this amazing, beautiful heart prayer. Again, thoughts. We talk about the power of thoughts. They were all directed towards me because I was in this situation. So it just all came. That week in the hospital, and plus they had me on steroids, so I wasn't in any pain at all. It was probably one of the most fabulous weeks of my life. And who would say that? And knowing that I was already on this path. So I looked at it all very differently than your typical person might look at it. So I did some YouTube videos that got thousands of views just because my attitude was like, okay, here we go. I'm sure I'm going to learn something from this. And boy, did I. And I was also like, I don't know if I'm going to pass away, but I also know that if I pass away, I'm not really going anywhere. I'll probably come and talk to my kids, and I knew my kids would be fine. And plus I knew I'd be seeing them, even though, there was no concern about anything. And it was just, it was a hard experience. It was a beautiful experience. And when I think about it now, would I do it again? Hell yes. In a heartbeat, even though I know it would be super challenging, yet it has brought me to where I am today, to be able to work with the Great Awakening, to give me strength to essentially stand in my power and give other people the credence to do that. Okay. I'm going to take a pause right there.
Yeah.
Oh, that was a lot
Take a
too.
pause. I want to tell you, I've talked to, I don't know how many people I've talked to that have had a near-death experience.
Yeah.
And I talk about all the time that everybody's is different.
Yes.
The way so much of the physical world was brought into that near-death experience of yours, and just the way you tell it is so much different than any other experience that I've ever talked to somebody about with the near-death experience. And I could feel it as you were describing it. You could feel the power and the energy. where before when I hear people talk about it, I think, well, that'd be really neat to see. That would be really neat to experience. I actually felt it as you were talking about it. I experienced it. It was a lot of your truth just radiated out. And as people watch this, today and next week and years from now, nothing's going to change. That same energy is going to come out, and they're going to feel what you went through and get it. And I want to just thank you for sharing that and the way you shared it. It was amazing.
Thank you for saying that. I'm going to hold that in my heart for a second, Todd.
much different than many of the others. And I'm not saying that I don't believe them, but such a different experience that you just described, so powerful and wonderful. I can't thank you enough for sharing it. One of the things that you talked about, you said, I'm going to stay. You decided you were going to stay.
Yeah.
And you needed to spend the time doing the work, not all the other stuff.
Right.
And where has that taken you? Obviously you're getting ready to write a book, you're doing your other things. How has that really changed how your life is? I know that's a big question, but just making that one decision or having that one enlightened moment, what changed? Did you feel a change? Have you seen the change? Can you describe what took place once you had that clarity?
That's a great question, because it wasn't like, oh, that was done and now the sky opened up and my life was just perfect and everything fell in line. It was just an acceptance of, because part of owning the studio and doing all of that was there was this part of me that was still driven that I had to prove something. And in this world where we are, to do meditation or anything like that, to have a storefront gave it credibility, gave it, oh, she must be good because she has this, or there must be something that validates her. Now, the only thing that validates me is me. There's some people that are listening and watching this is just go, that's a bunch of hooey, or who is she? No. It is not my right to worry about what you're thinking about me. And it is not my business to know what you think about me. My only business is to know what I think about myself. So it's been a process. This just didn't happen after the near-death experience that suddenly I was strong. It's been year after year, not only physically becoming strong, but mentally knowing that I can pretty much handle so many things. And there's been, so I went through a divorce about 2 years ago. So much about the Great Awakening as well is moving through relationships that don't work. So in that, so many relationships dissolved, ones that I didn't expect. I mean, it was one of those experiences. I was prepared for some of the outcomes, but you cannot be fully prepared until you're in it. So going through that as well, and the strength that gave, and the ability to speak my truth and know that I'm okay with me. And all of this as basically, when we talk about ascending into the fifth dimension, it's all about love and finding, it's all been about a discovery of love for myself and taking a stand and not doing this or that because someone thinks I should. What do I want to do? And even in ending relationships, well, you shouldn't do that, Eden. This looks, and part of it was that my marriage on the outside to a lot of other people looked fine. So Eden, why are you going to give this up? Why are you doing this? Because there is a connection there that isn't real. And that's because what I'm all about is this connection. So you may not agree with what I'm doing, but it is not your life. And I believe in me. And if you're going to end a relationship with me because of this or because of that else or something else, that's okay. That's okay.
Yeah. No, and unfortunately, sometimes those have to change because not everybody gets this. Not everybody wants to. It scares some people, um, and that's okay. They'll find their own way. One thing I would like to share with you is as you were talking about that, and as we talked a little bit more, about the change that took place. What I felt when you talked about it and spend the time doing the work, not the other things, I felt. When I do my work and I'm in the quantum room, I see different things. And what I saw and felt was you were taking almost like pieces of armor off, like a knight's armor, the helmets, the shoulder stuff, the everything, which was taking weight off, which made you stand taller. And the weight is saying, took the weight off your shoulders is so cliche, but there really was a weight being lifted from you, being taken off you. And almost like you were removing things that were shielding you from things you shouldn't be shielded from. You were taking those things off, and now you're more vulnerable but more open. And that's what I was seeing and feeling as you were talking about that. And that part of it really was hitting home to me about. I could see these things happening. As you were growing and changing and getting stronger. And maybe because that stuff was gone, that you were able to get stronger.
Yes. And my relationship with my former husband, apparently, well, not apparently, I know some of this. We had been in past lives, parallel lives, as I call them now, because we are going into the quantum and time is just a construct, that he and I had been in tumultuous relationships before many times. Mm-hmm. And this was my time to end that and to be free of it. And if I could do that, wow, great, thanks. And it's, again, prepared me to help others and to go through, because I have a lot of clients right now who've just gone through a divorce or who are going through a divorce. And yeah, it can create a whole bunch of challenges, especially with narcissism being very predominant in our world right now, moving through that and being okay with it, because you are essentially with a person who is not loving and not kind to you. And it can be very covert as well. So healing from that and seeing the reality of that can be really, really challenging and hard to leave someone like that as well.
Yeah, it can be very hard. I do want to bring up, we had the person, many of the people that leave notes, they're not able to leave their name, in our comments because the way Facebook's set up. But we have Angela who got on, and I'm not sure, it looks like she might have come in through YouTube. She left us a note when you were talking about the spiders. She has a laugh so hard you're crying emoji there. It says, "My dad never let us kill spiders. He loved them, mostly because he hated flies, and said the spiders kill the flies."
Yes, let's add to that, Angela. They are the divine feminine incarnate, weaving webs, because our world is such a web. They are the masters of bringing everything together.
Yes.
Connecting it all.
And
they eat flies.
There is a sci-fi fantasy guy named, I believe you say his name is Piers Anthony. Okay. And he's prolific. He's probably got 100 novels out. But one of his books was about a giant spider. And the perspective you get from this character reading the book, I didn't kill a spider for I don't know how many years after reading that book. I really thought, man, they're great. So your perspective can change. And I felt as you were telling that story that, I have been kind of rough on spiders. I need to back off, except for the ones that crawl across the ceiling and stop directly over me. Those I might.
Okay, here's what I'm going to recommend. If an animal or an insect crosses your path, I would like you to immediately get your phone or whatever and look up a spiritual animal. And then you will see the attributes of each of those animals, and you can really see why they're crossing your path. Because I also believe that nothing happens, that our life is a mirror of our thoughts and our beliefs. So scorpions, flies, everything has a meaning. And when you start
Hasn't-
equating to that and seeing that you're not just in this world bebopping around, that you're creating these things, because the spider, essentially, what happened to me the first time, someone who told me this as well, I was sitting at my old house in an office, clacking, and a spider in a web came right down in front of my face. And I worked on a website called All Things Healing at the time, and I happened to be on the phone with one of my people that I was working with. And she goes, Eden, you need to look up what a spider means. And that started me on this journey, having so much more of an appreciation for animals. And again, that we're all wrapped into this divinity. It's not just human beings and then nature and earth is separate. We're all one. We're all one. Now, when a fruit fly gets in my way, I still, because they're hard to capture, so I'm not perfect, but pretty much everything else I'll put outside, or but fruit fly. Oh, and ticks. Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Ticks are a problem, but
I
fruit
know.
flies will drive you crazy. And those
Oh my
gnats, you're
gosh.
trying to get them out of your eye and away
Right.
from your nose, and they went in and
And I haven't looked them up. I'm sitting here talking about looking up. I haven't looked up a fruit fly. I will do that as soon as we're done. Because
very
apparently,
good.
yeah, I'm talking my talk, walking my walk again. There you go.
I had a weird thought while we were doing that is
Please
when
share.
when that gnat or fruit fly or spider or whatever's there, what would happen if I contacted it? What would happen if instead of trying to shoo it away or step on it or whatever, what if I reached out to it, went into a meditative state, got into the quantum energy and reached out to that animal to see what's going on? I'm curious what kind of interaction we would have.
There you go. And I think you saying that, I need to do that next time a fruit fly is around. Exactly. Because again, we're all divinity. We're everything that is created on this planet, regardless of how ugly it looks, even ticks, as we talk about. Yeah, it's all here for a reason. So if we are willing to explore that, but that also doesn't mean like everything, there's a reason for everything. So me picking up this pen and this pen or this pencil being here, okay, you can take that overboard. So please do not do that.
Yes.
Because that'll drive you crazy. I did want to bring this up, Todd. I don't think we talked about the body being masterful. So I want to go back to this near-death experience and this infection for a second.
Sure.
There was at no point that I looked.
Eden, I'm not sure if you can hear me.
Oh, yeah,
there you are.
we're back on.
We got to, there was no point, and then we lost you.
Okay. So talking about the physical body, there was no point in the infection that I was like, what is my body doing to me? In terms of being responsible and accepting everything, I had already known this, but yeah, I had to accept that this wasn't just happening to me, that on some level I had created it. God had created it. And I also believe that we're in a partnership with God, that we have free will, that it's just not, especially when I work, oh, God's telling me what to do, that I'm a part of this as well, that God is a part of me, that we're all intermingled in this together. So I would encourage anyone listening or watching that any type of pain that you get in your body, any type of, that's something, it's basically wanting your attention. So part of Western medicine is we take drugs to numb the pain. When I'm like, your body's talking to you. Are you going to listen to it? Are you going to pay attention to what it's saying to you? Or are you just going to go throughout your day and take some pain medication? Same thing with depression, anxiety. There's something happening and going on that if you ignore it, it's just going to persist. And it's not looking at your body going, why are you bringing this harm to me? Oh my gosh, thank you so much for showing me that something is off balance. Okay, and it might hurt like the dickens, whatever it is, yet to pay attention to it versus wanting to get out of it, moving through it. Why is this happening to me? Stuff. Taking ownership and responsibility and accepting it. That's the key.
That's amazing. And that's something I've always believed in, is that responsibility, that ownership part of it, keeping that ownership. But looking at that pain, and I'm guilty of it as well. My muscles are sore before I go to bed. Take an ibuprofen so I can sleep well. Well, why are they sore? We need to look at that and look inside, and almost every time you're going to find that answer, and you take steps to correct it. And it's so easy to forget that. But when you do have a pain, look at what's going on. Is it and listen to what comes to you as you're talking, as you're meditating and looking for the reason. Listen to that, no matter how weird it may be. You just don't know what is causing it. Your knee might hurt because you're upset about something that happened, that somebody said something to you, and it manifests in the knee. So you find it and you make that correction. You just don't know. It doesn't mean that somebody came up and hit you with a hammer in your knee and made it hurt. For some reason, that memory, that energy has stored itself there, and you have to look at it and figure out how to address it.
And to be literal with things, like if a lot of people have shoulder pain because they are literally carrying a whole bunch of weight on their shoulders. Someone a back pain because they have been stabbed in the back. Knees also represent moving forward. So if you're having a challenge moving forward, that could be where it is. I also recommend a lot Louise Hay. She passed away, I think it was a couple years ago, but I keep up in my studio her book that basically has a list of probably, 300 physical, mental challenges and what that could potentially mean or what you're going through emotionally. So I still pull that book out on a regular basis. It goes knee problems, teeth issues, tennis elbow, hemorrhoids, autoimmune disorders. She lists everything out, and it is priceless because I use it with pretty much anything. Even if there's a spiritual component to it, there's something that rings true with it every time on some level.
Yes. Yeah. And it's funny when I'm doing healing work with people and I describe what took place. I'll say, we removed something, say a stick from the knee. And they're like, well, I don't have a sore knee, but my stomach ache stopped, or,
Oh, neat.
You don't know where the tie-in is, and I don't try to interpret it for the people. They typically will find that answer. It might not be for a day or two. It might be you're sound asleep and then the answer comes to you. So it may not make sense when they get the the debriefing of their healing session, but we don't know how those things are tied in or why your knee hurts when you're upset about something somebody said. So, but it is what it is. You put that there, and if you take the responsibility, like you said, and look at it and figure out why, you'll get those answers.
Yeah, and I feel that with you too, you will start knowing intuitively more of the links as well. So probably 95% of the time I understand why things happen. And my job is also not to just blurt it out. A lot of times to get my folks to think about it, but sometimes there are times where I can communicate things. Then every once in a while, I will not get the information because they are supposed to figure it out on their own. I feel that you will, you're going to start getting more. I'm so excited.
Yeah, and I've tried not to interpret too much, but maybe I do need to look more at some interpretation to help. I've seen too many times where they interpret where what people see is correct. I just use an example with a medium. He was on my radio show and he was just nailing information about this lady. He was telling her fact after fact after fact, but his interpretation was wrong. And because his interpretation was wrong, it took her out of it. And then the session kind of stopped, and they ended up getting in kind of a fight on air. I had to just, go to break. Bad thing was he was dead on with what he was seeing, but what he thought those symbols meant were completely different than what the spirit was trying to tell her. So I've been very leery about interpretation, but I can see now where sometimes I just have to listen to my gut, listen to that higher self, and
what I would advise on that too. Like part of the process for me when I first started doing this was interpreting that, holding it to myself, then letting them talk. And then suddenly I was like, oh my gosh, what I was thinking was exactly that. So in the process gave me much more awareness that yes, what you are feeling is correct. And then do I need to step into this moment or do I need to wait a little bit? So it's very precise. And the longer you do it too, you don't have to think about it. You just know, well, this is, I communicate this, I hold back this, it's almost like this flurry of there's a snowstorm going on in your head, yet it's not a snowstorm. You just know it, like, and then there are these shoots that here's this information, use this and don't use that. And like spirit tells me that, and my body tells me that. It's so fun to talk about this because it is. I take it for granted so often because it's so natural at this point. Yet there's a lot that goes into it.
Absolutely. I am not sure where we go from here, and we're just about out of time. So maybe what we do now is let's just talk about your website. Make sure people can contact you if they want. Let's talk about your podcast so that people can watch that. I'm sure there's people interested in it. Tell us how they get a hold of you and where to see you and how do they go forward now.
Awesome. Thank you. So the best place to go is also to my website, which is Eden, EDEN, justbe.com. So all my contact information is there. You can see more of what I do. Again, I do remote sessions, so you don't have to be here in Ohio. I do exactly what I would do in a face-to-face session with a session online. And I use, I can use Google Meets, Zoom, all the things. I am in the process of writing. I had started writing the book and now I'm gangbusters on it. So my ideal is for it to be published within 4 months. So I like saying that out loud because that holds me to it as well. So it's all about the great awakening and how to keep yourself at a beautiful, peaceful point through all the ups and downs. What else? So my podcast, Just Be Spiritual, boom. You can find it. Boom. You can just type in the name. I'm on like 19 directories at this point. So Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon. There are tons, as well as YouTube. If you want to see the video, YouTube, Rumble, and BitChute as well. And I had gotten off of most social media, but now I'm back on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Oh God, it's kind of ridiculous saying all these things to you because I'm looking at it going, oh my gosh. So I'm pretty much everywhere.
You are. And you forgot how we met, which was LinkedIn.
Oh yeah. So LinkedIn. What else? I'm looking at my screen at all these things. Oh yeah. And if you go to my website, everything's on there. If you look at a podcast or whatever, everything's listed there as well. So yeah, say hi, and please feel free at this point to comment on the show or to email me directly. Yeah, I love feedback. I love to talk to people. I think it's great. And I just want to be help. Like I think that was your thing too. Your purpose was to help. Is that correct?
Help. Absolutely.
Yes.
Yep. To help.
Yeah.
And,
mine's just to be me and find joy and connections and.
And you're doing it. I also want to encourage people when they're at your website to look for a picture you have. You have a shirt on that says Meditation Gangster or Gangsta. And is that on your website or is that
No, I don't know where you saw that, but yeah, I do there is a picture of me doing.
It must be just one of those things associated with your name if it's not on the website, but it is funny. You can just feel the energy blasting out of you at that picture.
When I had my studio, I had shirts, Meditation Gangster. I had a couple other shirts. Again, that was so exciting initially. Now I'm like, no more products or whatever. But yes, Meditation Gangster, come on, spiritual gangster.
You could feel it. You could almost hear the boom before the boom even existed.
Thank you.
All right. So I'm just going to let Todd know that we're just wrapping up, and he can take us out. And Eden, I can't thank you enough. This last 2 hours has flown by.
So awesome.
I don't know where to start with all my notes, but I'll be digging through those the rest of the day. And thank you. I'm always energized, always just my creativity's on fire after we talk, and I really just appreciate the time you spent with us.
Thank you so much, Todd. It's so easy to talk with you too. Like, again, the 2 hours just flew by because you intuitively know, what to come in with. It just flows. So thank you as well. Big heart to you. Big heart to everybody out there. Thank you so much. And you and I will chat tomorrow.
Absolutely. There's more for us. So, all right. Thanks, everybody. We will be back next week with more Slipstream Shaman, Quantum Healing and Beyond.
Awesome.
Take us away, Todd.
Bye.
Yeah.